They gave him one final choice: live and win everything, or die and give it all up. Gi-hun, once a desperate gambler clinging to survival, made the most selfless decision in the most violent game on Earth. But was it the right move? In this video, we're going deep into the heart of his final choice, breaking down everything it meant, everything it changed, and whether it truly mattered in the end. From the very beginning, Gi-hun was never the typical player. While others were fighting tooth and nail for money and survival, Gi-hun held on to something else: his humanity. He entered the original Squid Game as a man crushed by life, drowning in debt, estranged from his daughter, and emotionally exhausted. But beneath the broken surface, he had empathy, and that empathy followed him through every round of the first game. He didn't abandon the old man, Il-nam. He fed Ali, he protected Sae-byok. And when it came down to the final round between him and Sang-woo, he didn't want to win by killing. He wanted to escape the cycle of death with a friend, not walk over their corpse to victory. That's the kind of man Gi-hun was. And even after winning the first game, he didn't touch the prize money. Guilt consumed him. The blood on his hands haunted him. And when he found out the game still continued, destroying more lives around the world, he couldn't ignore it. Season 3 brings him back into the arena, but this time, not as a participant looking to win. He comes back as someone with a mission. He wants to expose the system, burn it down, and end the games for good. But the deeper he goes, the more twisted the game becomes. And in the final episode of Season 3, Gi-hun is forced to make his last and most devastating choice. Let's talk about what happened. In the final round of Season 3, the game is no longer just about childhood nostalgia and deadly competition. It becomes symbolic. It's called Squid Game in the Sky, a horrifying 3-platform death game with the remaining players standing on towers shaped like the game's triangle, circle, and square. The rules are brutal. At least one player must die on each platform for the game to continue. No button, no countdown. The choice is purely in the player's hands. By the end of the second-to-last round, 3 people remain: Gi-hun, a man named Myung-gi, and an infant, player 222. The baby had been born during the course of the game to Myung-gi and his partner, who tragically died in an earlier round. Myung-gi is now obsessed with securing his legacy by winning the game and giving the prize money to his child. But what begins as a father's desperation quickly devolves into something much darker. Myung-gi attempts to sacrifice his own child to win the final round, believing that a symbolic victory would honor both his partner and the child's future. Gi-hun is horrified. A physical fight breaks out. In the struggle, Myung-gi falls to his death. But there's a twist since no one officially pressed the game start button. Myung-gi's death does not count. Now it's just Gi-hun and the baby left. 2 players, 1 platform, and 1 rule: someone has to die for the game to end. Gi-hun can win everything if he lets the baby die. He can claim the prize, walk away, and maybe even use the money to destroy the game system from the outside. But there's another choice, a final one. He looks at the crying baby, sets her down gently, and says, "We are not horses. We are humans." It's the same phrase Il-nam once used the creator of the game, who treated people like racehorses. Gi-hun steps off the platform and falls to his death, sacrificing himself to save the child. The game ends, and the baby wins. But here's where the real questions begin. Did Gi-hun make the right choice? Let's break this down in layers: emotionally, morally, tactically, and narratively. Emotionally, Gi-hun's choice feels like the only one he could make. Throughout all 3 seasons, he clung to the idea that life is sacred. Even when everyone else was reduced to killers, betrayers, and survivors, he stood for something higher. Killing a newborn who didn't choose to be there would have destroyed everything he stood for. It would have been the ultimate betrayal of his identity. Choosing to die, to protect innocence at the cost of everything, brought his arc full circle. He began as a desperate man who couldn't even care for his own child. He ended by saving someone else's morally. His decision is almost impossible to argue with. The baby was innocent, helpless. She had no concept of the game, no understanding of stakes or strategy. Letting her die would have been inhuman. And Gi-hun's line, "We are not horses," wasn't just poetic. It was a direct rejection of everything the game stood for. The system saw people as entertainment, as resources, as pawns. Gi-hun chose to defy that by making a sacrifice that no one else had the courage to make. Now let's talk strategy. This is where the debate gets complicated. Gi-hun entered the game to destroy it. His goal wasn't just to survive it, was to expose the frontman, uncover the identities of the VIPs, and bring the whole operation down. By choosing death, Gi-hun may have saved one child, but he gave up the fight to end the games entirely. The system wasn't destroyed. The frontman lived. The game continued. In fact, in the final scene of Season 3, we see recruiting begin again, this time in Los Angeles, hinting at the rise of an American version of Squid Game. Cate Blanchett's cameo as a new recruiter sends a chilling message. The game isn't over, it's just evolving. So tactically, Gi-hun's decision could be seen as a failure. He gave up his only chance to fight from within. He didn't destroy the files, he didn't capture the frontman, and he left no testimony behind. And though Junho now has the child and some information, it's unclear whether it will be enough to take down the global network behind the game. Narratively, Gi-hun's sacrifice completes a character arc that began all the way in Season 1. He started as someone who barely valued his own life. He ended as someone who gave it up for a stranger. It's powerful, it's tragic, and it's unforgettable. But that's also what makes it controversial. Some fans argue that Gi-hun's death robbed the story of its revolutionary ending. Instead of leading a rebellion or exposing the game publicly, he died quietly on a rooftop platform. It was poetic, but was it enough? Others believe it was exactly the ending he needed. By dying, he showed the frontman that even in the darkest place, goodness could still win. Maybe Gi-hun didn't end the system, but he planted a seed, a single, powerful seed. That's the paradox of Gi-hun's final choice. He saved one life and possibly inspired change in others. But he didn't destroy the machine. He didn't bring justice to the dead. And he didn't live to see whether his sacrifice made any real difference. So was it worth it? Only time will tell. There's one more layer we need to consider. The audience. Squid Game has never been just a story about games. It's about capitalism, survival, humanity, and power. Gi-hun's final act asks us, the viewers, a brutal question. If you were in his shoes, would you have done the same? Would you risk everything for someone else's child? Would you choose death to preserve your soul? Or would you take the win, the money, and the chance to fight another day? There is no easy answer. But that's exactly why Gi-hun's story matters. It wasn't about beating the system. It was about staying human inside it. And in a world built on greed, blood, and manipulation. So here's the final question for you. Did Gi-hun win by dying, or did he lose everything for nothing? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want a deep dive into that final cameo, the meaning of the American Squid Game, and what we can expect from Season 4, make sure to hit like and subscribe. The next round is coming, and it's going to be global.